give you a gentler and a more restorative / yin type of practice. And we're going to end with Yoga Nidra, which I know a lot of you love. So you do not have to have 2 mats the way I have it set up here, but we are going to be using the wall. You may want a blanket for extra padding and support, and I am sitting on a yoga bolster. We will be using a bolster a little bit later at the end for the Nidra, and perhaps a twist. However, I know at home you may not have a yoga bolster. Just grab a pillow. A pillow will work just fine. So if you're not familiar with yin yoga, it's kind of the opposite of yang. Think of the yin-yang sign. Yin is meant to be more passive, more relaxed, more inward, more grounded. We hold the poses a little bit longer. We steep in the poses so that we can go through the various layers of our being. A lot of you have been in classes with me where I spoke of the koshas. We have these layers. You have the physical body, the food body. We have the next layer being the energy sheath, which comes in a lot through pranayama. Then we have the layer of the mind stuff, where all the mental fluctuations occur. And then we go a little deeper and we start to move into the sheath or layer, which is about discernment, where we can access intuition and our wisdom. And then when we move into the innermost layer, it's called the Anandamaya Kosha, the layer of bliss. So it's that place of contentment and peace where you're in that state of being, and that touches upon the Atman. So I don't want to get too involved in that subject, but that is one reason why we steep a little longer in the yin poses. The yin poses target the connective tissues of the body, more like the fascia, that kind of inner cobweb system of the body, what holds and ties everything together. It's mixed in with the muscles, so you are potentially going to feel some work through your musculature as well. It's different than the yang form of yoga because we're not as structured on alignment. We're not as structured on stacking the bones or engaging muscles any particular way. There are a few precautions you should take. I'll try to mention those as we go along, but again, I'm trying to make this simplistic and accessible to everyone. So we're going to start off with legs up the wall. So I'm going to move over to this mat. And I don't know if you've ever been taught how to get into this pose the easier way. I lots of times see people sitting on their mat and then trying to get in, or they're way back here and then they're too far away from the wall. So I usually suggest that people come to the corner of the mat right at the edge and kind of slide one hip up the wall, lower down to your side body, and then roll onto your mat. You don't have to be perfectly aligned on your mat as long as you have this beneath you, and your legs are going to float up the wall. Now you're in charge of how much or little you can feel through the backside of the legs. And I know for some people this is too much for their hamstrings and they tend to bend the knees. If that's the case, maybe scooch back a little bit. You can even put a pillow behind your thighs for some extra padding. But the first thing I want us to do is flex the feet. Now I know this is active, but let's go ahead and visualize get a visual of how the legs are going up the wall. Sometimes we notice one leg may be higher than the other. So see if you can jut up through your heels, spill down and spread out through your toes, and notice if the big toe is dropping a little bit more. That typically is the case. So just think about pushing up through the mound of the big toe, which can activate the inside of the knee and that inner quad. All right, now that you've created some flexion, some power, some engagement through the legs, and you find that you have some equanimity, sometimes you may find that you're leaning to the left or right. Soften your ankles now, relax the toes. And you can place your hands in any position. They could be in an A-frame style alongside your body. You're welcome to place them on top of the abdomen or one hand over
the belly, one hand over the heart. You're also welcome to create the goddess arms, which I really enjoy. And this is the one I'm going to choose. But play around with that to see what works for you today. And then begin to settle your eyelids down. You can always grab a towel or an eye bag to shield the eyes and to put a little weight on the brow. This is often called waterfall pose, or one adaptation of waterfall pose, sometimes Abbreviated. And when the legs are lifted up the wall, we're able to allow gravity to assist our circulation, and our body's not having to work as hard to get the blood flow from that extremity all the way back in the direction of the heart. So this is very aiding for the heart. This helps to lodge the femur bones back into the hip sockets. This helps to stabilize the pelvis. It gives some length to the low back. This also helps bring the circulation down towards the pool of the belly, which will eventually move upward into the lake of the heart and the mind. It's calming for the nervous system. And this is the pose I always recommend and mention around the full moon if you're ever lacking sleep or having bouts of insomnia. You may even feel some of that trickling sensation energetically from the toes and the feet. That's typically where we tend to experience energy first, the hands and the feet. And if you feel any of the sensation, just picture it flowing, cascading down like a waterfall. Remember, water is very cleansing. Sometimes when I'm taking people into this pose, I bring in a chakra meditation, changing the color of the water and bringing in the characteristics of each one. Sometimes I mention just imagining being at your favorite waterfall. We're lucky that we have so many here in Middle Tennessee, but I'm sure you've seen waterfalls elsewhere around the country or in another country. Sometimes it's nice to create that visualization in the mind. If you want to picture one of those things, feel free to, but then begin to take some deep, slow, yogic breaths. As you create that smooth and steady breath, I want us to count our breaths. Please do not rush. Notice if the sips of breath are shortened, and if so, elongate them out. We're going to take 7 more. 1. 2. 3. 4. next inhalation, go ahead and slide the feet apart, not terribly wide. You're not trying to go into a split. But then we're just going to simply slide the feet down the wall. Now, a common mistake I see with this are people gripping in their inner thighs, which draws the knees closer together. If you turn the toes away from your midline and soften the inner thighs, allow the knees to expand open. Now this is called the stirrup pose in yin, but I renamed it the tree frog for obvious reasons. This time, again, you can have your hands anywhere, but I'm going to interchange my hands and lace them up underneath the base of the skull, up underneath the occiput. If your knees can't handle this much flexion, just walk the feet a little higher. Be established with your breath. Bringing it down into your body. So if your mind is restless, sometimes it's nice to practice that softer Ujjayi pranayama where you can hear the sound of your breath. I know we typically do that in flow practices, but it's also welcomed here. I like to call the Ujjayi breath the song of the soul because you can actually hear and listen to your breath. The breath that was a gift to us from the divine. A breath that connects us to everyone and everything. A breath that connects the physical to the metaphysical. When I'm usually teaching this particular pose in class, I've noticed that some people hold it for just a bit of time and then they feel called to move into the butterfly position, where the soles of the feet kind of join together and you're rolling to the pinky side of the foot and the knees are splayed a little bit wide or closer to the wall. You can even use your hands. Don't do a shove or a strong push, but just very, very gentle pressure to maybe create a little bit more of an opening. This is good for the hips. It's also said to be good for the reproductive organs and the bladder. Remember, don't just stay at the surface level. Don't just stay on top of the forefront of the mind with the restless thoughts. Try to move into that space in between any thoughts. Same with the body. Instead of just being so focused on the physical shape of the body, can you use some of this time where we're practicing some quietude to drop into another layer? Maybe moving from the outer physical layer of the body, moving into the layer of breath or energy. Perhaps moving from that place that I mentioned where thoughts are rising and falling into that space in which the thoughts arise from. You may even catch those moments or glimpses of contentment, bliss. Let's take 3 more breaths. Hold 1. Hold 2. Hold 3. On your next breath in, gently begin to slide the knees closer together. The feet are welcome to prop to the wall. Just kind of reset and then roll to one side of your body. You may want to take pause here before rising up.
Now I'm going to switch over to this other mat. Hopefully you won't have to get up like I just did. You may want that blanket to be supplied underneath the knees. We're going to stack onto the knees and onto the palms initially, but we're going to do some pranayama between 2 poses. We're going to start off in puppy pose. If you think about, I'm just going to show you a demo really quick. If you consider downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana here, puppy pose is a position where you're down on your knees and shins, and then the arms are going to walk forward. But instead of sinking the chest, you want to keep the shoulder blades in the back. You want to keep the stretch in the pit of the arms. You want to angle the head so the ears are in alignment with the inside of the arm bones. Your belly is hugging in. So you've got some work in those transverse abdominis muscles. And on the exhalation, we're going to be blowing the breath out through the mouth and then dropping into the shoulder joints, sinking down to the chest and chin, but without any pressure on the chin. If that strains the neck whatsoever, you can always come to the brow. So let's begin. Inhale. Cleansing breath to melting heart. Suction up through the front of the body on the in-breath. Relax down and surrender on the out-breath. 3 more. Now remain in melting heart. We're not going to hold this as long as the previous poses, but let's hold for 7 breaths if possible. And if it's too much to do both arms, you can always prop onto one arm and just focus on one side and then the other like so. Inhalation, gently rise up, slide, and walk your hands back. If you want to take a quick downward facing dog, feel free to sail the hips up and back. Take as many breaths as you want there, but I'm going to come on back down. So I'm going to invite you to perhaps use a blanket in a short fold like this. I'm going to come to the edge of the mat. And this is not folded very well. You want to get those rough edges or wrinkles out, otherwise it can be annoying. So place the soles of the feet together, and when you're opening out the knees, if you look down in your lap, it should be like a rhombus or a diamond shape for the yin form. Now, if you have any issues with, a history of any type of herniated disc, you can always slide the feet in closer to your body and maintain the active form of Baddha Konasana, the bound angle pose, keeping a straight back. All right, so I'm going to show you the yin. As you inhale, lift up energetically, and as you exhale, slide your hands down towards the feet. Bow over and down, releasing through your head and your neck. And then this is where sometimes when we bow the head over, we may want to, fixate with our pants, or, we start judging ourselves based on, the muffin top. So just embrace that. Close your eyes so that you're not actually catching a view of anything to judge, and just let your belly spill out and be plush and soft. Let your spine gently round. If it's too much for you to go this low, you can always prop into prayer hands, right? Or you can use your arms as a brace or a shield. But the idea is to see if we can sweetly surrender into it. So I'm going to bow back over to my edge. Let go of the idea that you should look a particular way. Yoga is meant for everybody, but I like to say it's not one size fits all. We're all unique expressions of the Creator. We're all unique expressions of how life has sculpted us. So this shows up in the body. Life shows up in the body. So it's okay if you can go deeper. It's okay if you're lacking some movement here. Practice some acceptance of yourself. Soften your jaw, your teeth, your tongue, your lips. Even relaxing that crease between the eyes, what we tend to get when we're really focused or concentrated. So maintain the balance of steadiness and ease with your concentration. Slowly back up, so you can start to pierce the navel in. You can slowly unfurl, rolling it up one vertebra at a time, or walking the hands back in your direction. Flip your hands open and just take a moment to pause. If you need to recreate a shape, a different shape with your legs, then do that. All right, I'm going to turn this way so that you can have a good visual. I'm going to arms behind the back. And just have your your left hand kind of set behind you, and your right arm will thread behind you and perhaps catch a hold of your left upper arm. And then go ahead and take the left hand up and grip a hold of the other arm. So you can hold the elbows, you can hold forearms, you can hold wrists, but lift up energetically through the sides of your body, through the crown of your head. Let your seat get grounded. And then as you exhale, gently turn your head over to the left shoulder. Pause here, continue to breathe in and out through the nose. Inhale, revolve the head to center, and then exhale, gently turn to gaze to the right. You can have the eyes open or closed. Gently bring the head to center, and then exhale, dip the left ear towards the left shoulder. Inhale, head up. And exhale, go ahead and descend it towards the right shoulder. Now you're not pushing the head down. It's just leaning that direction. I often say in yin practices, think of certain shapes being like a tulip. You know, if you have a tulip sitting in a vase, then you're going to find that each tulip in that bouquet is going to go its own direction. So let it be a little whimsical. So by whimsical, I mean you can always tilt the chin down, you can always tilt the chin up. You know, just finding that nook or cranny somewhere in the neck or the shoulder that feels more tight or tense, that you could slowly work out. And then let's release the arms. When you release the arms, this is where you could perhaps use a bolster or a pillow. I'll give you the demonstration of both. So if you take both knees, and they don't have to be stacked, they can be offset from each other. And if you lift up energetically, we're going to slowly turn the body so that we're facing down the lane of our mat. So a real yin way to do it is just to walk the hands now down the lane of your mat and lower down to one side of your face or another. So if you were twisting to the right, if you land on your right cheek, it's going to be gentler. If you're twisting to the right but you turn your head to rest on your left cheek, that's going to provide more of the twisting sensation through the neck, but it will also affect you all the way down the vertebrae to the low lumbar area. So check in to see what your experience is. If you need that prop underneath, again, you'll inhale, lift up, because we want to create that space in between each vertebra because of the disc in between. Right? We want the disc to get lubricated here. And when you start to roll it down, you're trying to go navel face down, chest face down. And instead of, notice when I'm hugging the arms close to the bolster, my shoulders jut up and I'm not spreading across my upper back. So if you widen your arms and then release, you'll find that your muscles can relax more. So with or without the prop,
Close your eyes and come back home to your breath, because the breath will take you to the other layers within. If by chance your lower back or your hip or the top leg is causing you any grief, you can also put a blanket or a pillow in between the knees, which can also help to alleviate any sensation that is firing up that's not welcoming. Slide your hands in and inhale, slowly begin to rise up.
This is truly one of my favorite poses. So when you come back to center, you can always take the feet a little wider, lift up through the shaft of the spine, and exhale, round back. You can do that a couple times. Ready to move to the second side. So there's a slightly turn towards your left hip. Same idea here. If you want a blanket, prop, or pillow in between the thighs or knees, feel free to do that. But make sure that you inhale, invest in lengthening in your spine first before churning from your belly to face the prop or your mat. And go ahead and walk the hands down alongside it, lower to the belly, to the chest, and then figure out on this side which is better for the neck. So I'm tighter here, but I need it. So I'm gonna stay. Settle in, relax, and breathe. Notice where you're holding, where your body's still wanting to contract. And see if you can breathe into that space. See if you can internally say to that region, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. Nourish yourself with this breath.
little hidden pockets of tension could be anywhere. Could be in your ankle. Be found in one of your fingers or your hand. Maybe somewhere in your back. Maybe even gripping in your core. Discover where that is and let it go. Slide the hands in closer. Press down through the palms and slowly begin to peel your way up. Once you peel your way up, move that bolster to the side a moment or your pillow and prop onto your hands. I want you to straighten out through your legs, come into what's called a hammock pose. And yeah, you can even flip-flop the feet. You can even bend your knees and then rock them side to side. And then place that pillow or bolster, if you have it available, underneath your thighs and knees. Lots of times I see people doing this and the feet are just kind of hanging out in midair, which is fine if that's your preference. But I'm obviously got a lot of fire in me with my red hair and being an Aries, but if you look at your constitution with your doshas, which is an Ayurvedic term, it's a sister science of yoga, I'm actually more Vata. Vata is air, Pitta is fire, Kapha is earth. So because I have a lot of Vata, I need practices like this that are closer to the floor. I need to let my heels descend down to the ground so I have that contact. And I also like to use blankets. Now, typically I usually have a blanket under my head and over the body, but I'm just going to show you this because I also really like this. If you take your blanket and fold it long ways in half, it can provide some weight bearing. And any type of weight bearing on the body, of course, can help us to feel nurtured and grounded, safe and protected. So I take it across my hips and abdomen, and I kind of tuck it into the side waist a little bit. And now we're going to begin our Yoga Nidra. So have your palms resting open. Yoga Nidra is the state of sleepless sleep. We're just going to do an abbreviated form of this. When I do AccuDetox here at the studio with Anne, who partners with me, we do a yin practice, and then each one slowly goes down with AccuDetox or needling through the ears for the acupuncture part. And then once everybody is needled, I guide a 45-minute Yoga Nidra. This one's not going to be as long, although you may want it to be that long. So just kind of settle in. Make sure your body, first and foremost, is completely comfortable. Take a few deep breaths. The idea with Yoga Nidra is to stay awake, even though you may come in and out of being conscious about what I'm actually saying or being guided. So a way to stay alert and awake is to send your drishti inward and upward towards the third eye, towards the midpoint of the forehead. And we create a sankalpa. A sankalpa is a positive statement or some type of resolve or affirmation. And it may not be anything we're necessarily feeling or have attained in the now, but something that we're seeking and knowing that we can have that potential to reach it. And so I'll give you a few examples, and you can choose one or create one. I am wise and strong. I am wise and strong. If that one resonates with you, take it. If it sparks up some inspiration to create your own, do that. I'll give you a few more. I am at one and at peace. I am at one and at peace. I am love, and my foundation is love. I am love, and my foundation is love. I am a creative, spiritual being. I am a creative and spiritual being. And the last example I'll share is I am kind and compassionate. I am kind and compassionate. So if you resonate with one of those, or if that sparked you to inspire your own, state it 3 times over in your mind. Planting this positive seed of thought and nourishing it with your breath. Now we're going to begin relaxing the body. We're going to start with the right hand, specifically with the right hand thumb. Once you bring your attention to and relax the right hand thumb, move that same attention and relaxation over to the right forefinger, middle finger, ring finger, and pinky. Feel the space that you're holding in your right palm. And invite that space in through the pores of your skin. Mindfully begin to bring that wave of relaxation now up into your right forearm, to the upper arm. And let your attention swirl through the right shoulder, and from the right shoulder, break free and bring it down through your right side body. Let it slide down through your waist and land into the hip. Let your attention whirlpool around the right hip. And then eventually allow it to ripple down through the outside of the right leg. Eventually into the outer ankle. And then bring that same type of awareness over to your left hand, specifically your left hand thumb. Once you feel it from the inside out, relaxing it from the outside in, move that to the left forefinger, middle finger, ring finger, and pinky. Feel the space that you're holding in your left palm and invite it in through the pores of your skin. relaxation up through the left forearm, upper arm, let it steep a minute in the left shoulder. Breaking free and sliding it down through the left side body. From the waistline to land into the hip. Let it whirlpool around the left hip before trickling down through the outseam of the left leg. Eventually to the outer ankle. You might even notice your body is slightly heavier. But bring the same type of awareness now to the top of the head. Try to relax your scalp, your brow, the eyes, the cheeks, inner and outer ears, the interior and exterior of your mouth, and then glide this attention and softness down through your throat, to the right side of your chest, flowing through heart center to the left side of the chest. And bring it down into your abdomen, softening the right side of the belly across the navel center to the left side of the belly. Bring a sense of softness into the pelvic floor. Down through the top of each thigh, to each knee. Down across each shin to the top portions of the feet and all 10 toes. Any air or space that you feel circulating around them, invite it in through the pores of your skin. Let your head be weighted to the ground so that your neck can relax, no longer having to hold it up. Feel the contact of your shoulder blades and your rib cage against your mat. Relax the muscles down your back and feel your seat spread out. And then bring that wave of relaxation now down through the back of the legs, from the top of the thighs, behind the knees, to the back side of the calves, and feeling the weight landing in your heels. And if you're still awake, still hearing, computing the words I'm saying, say mentally, internally, and quietly within, I am awake. And from this state of wakefulness, stating your sankalpa, that positive affirmative statement that you chose at the beginning. State it once, twice, 3 times over in your mind. to get busy, just reclaim and restate that affirmation. Beginning with those two powerful words, I am. Not just completing that sentence, but feeling it emotionally. Believing it as if it were true right now. Usually the Nidra continues with not just touring the body, but the psyche, but we're going to conclude our Nidra from this point. So if you have that blanket across the abdomen, you can shed it away. You can stand the feet now on top of the pillow or bolster. You can also hug them in. Turn over to one side of your body. You can even create a little pillow with the bottom arm. Press down into that hand. Slowly rise on up to the top. Come to sit. You're welcome to sit on that folded blanket or pillow. Sitting with the spine erect. Bringing your hands to Jnana Mudra, representing wisdom. Index finger to meet the thumb. Use this time wisely as you're sitting up, becoming more awake to the room and environment you're in, and stating your sankalpa, that positive statement or affirmation again, 3 times in your mind. You can also say it aloud. Say it with conviction. Joining your hands together to prayer position at your heart. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we experience peace in our bodies, peace in our minds, and peace in our hearts. And may we be the instrument of peace that we so want to see in this world.